Hey guys, welcome to the last lesson, or part 4 in lesson 3. We're going to go ahead and finish this up. Notice that my background is blue. I drew a rectangle and just made it blue so that you could see what I had drawn better. I noticed that in the video recording, having these items on like a white background made it so that you couldn't really see them as well, and it was hard for some of you to be able to follow along. You can't even see the sail there, so I moved it over here on a blue one just so you can see the options a little bit better as we get going. Okay, so in today's lesson you're going to go over image trace, which is really cool. It's a neat feature that Illustrator has, that you can bring an image in and then you can trace it. So if you had a sketch that you did, or a logo that you're trying to recreate, or just an image that you want to work from, you can actually trace it in Illustrator and it draws the individual shapes for you, which is really cool. So to get started, let's go up here to Window and under, my brain's tired this morning. Go to Window and under Workspace, Essentials, we're going to go to Reset Essentials. That's going to reset all of our tools, everything, so that from this point on, what you do will follow exactly what I do, and it should look the same. All right, so here we go to begin. I need you guys to place a file inside here. When you bring a photo into Illustrator, it's usually best if you place it. So we're going to go to File, and we're going to go down to Place. Now I want you to choose, so go to V Drive, ME2, whichever class you're in, and I want you to choose under Illustrator Lessons, Lesson 3, Island. And what happens is it gives you a little preview of it. We're going to take it up to the top left bleed corner here, and we're going to go ahead and click, and that will fill it inside this space. All right, so from here, we're going to go ahead and work with something called Image Trace. So if you're in your Properties panel and you look down, you're going to click on Image Trace. Now, it gives you some options here. What I want to do is to have you choose 6 colors, and it's going to go ahead and start to trace this. Now, you'll notice some options here. This says expand. What happens is that when Illustrator traces something, it will also, if you click expand, make it into lots of little shapes, and it'll convert that image into things. So if you go to 6 colors, it gives you, it forces Illustrator to pick from just 6 colors. Let's see what black and white would look like. That's what it would look like if you were saying doing a black and white logo, or silhouettes. Not the best option. So sometimes you have to just come through. Let's do high fidelity photo. And there you go. You can see that it'll give you several different options as you go along, and you can pick which one works best from you. I'm just going to try low fidelity photo, and we're going to have 6 colors for image trace to choose from, and then we're going to go from there. Okay? Let's click this expand button right on the side, and it's going to open up the whole panel for image trace. All right, so let's go through our. We want to click auto color at the top left, and we're going to click this advanced button once it stops in just a second, right here. And let's choose some options. For our paths, we want 50%. For our corners, let's do 25%. And for the noise, let's do 8 pixels. Give it a minute. Okay. And as we do it, it's previewing it, so it takes a minute for this to run through. When all is said and done and we have it set the way we want it to be, and this looks pretty good, you can exit out of here and then hit, hit expand. All right, now what happens is you notice that, and I'm going to zoom into this, it has now taken this image and it has traced it, and it's made individual shapes. So if I was to go over to my layers and I clicked down, it's grouped them all together, you can see that it has made individual shapes for every single thing. And even like all of these little X mark the spot, it's made those. It makes each of them into a sub layer and it's grouped it all together. So that's perfect. That's what we want it to be. I'm going to zoom out. And let's go ahead and temporarily hide this. I'm just going to make sure that this group is selected, and I'm going to go to Object and Hide Selection. Let's just get rid of it for now. So it's still there, we just can't see it. And if you were to click that button on the left, which is your visibility icon, just like if you're used to Photoshop, very similar, you can click it on and off that way. So it's still there, we're just going to hide it. All right, let's go ahead and save this real quick. So File, Save. And let's go to the next part. All right, so the next thing that I want to teach you guys is what's called drawing modes. So inside Illustrator, you have the option right down here to draw normal, draw behind, or draw inside. So these are three different. Okay, so the next thing I want to teach you guys about is called drawing modes. You have several different options. You have draw normal, which means that it stacks shapes on top of each other. You have draw behind, which means anything you draw is going to go behind the object that you selected or behind all of the objects if you haven't selected anything. And then you have something called draw inside, which is really neat. It creates what's called a clipping mask, and as you draw inside that shape, it's going to keep everything to just inside that shape. And that's what we're going to work with today. We're going to work with the draw inside mode for the next step. Okay, so you're going to need the map edges that looks like this. If you don't already have it open, you can go to your folder and go to the V drive and ME2, and you can choose your class from here. Inside the Illustrator lessons, it is map edges right there. All right, so you're going to need this file. We're just going to copy this and then we're going to paste it into our document. So if you go ahead and using your selection tool, select the shape, we're going to go to Edit, Copy, and then we're going to come back over to your postcard and we're going to go click on the artboard that you want to work on and go to Edit, Paste in Place. There we go. Now we have the map edges. And from here, we're going to use the Draw Inside mode. Okay, so we're going to choose down here the Draw Inside mode. Notice these little dotted lines. That tells you that anything you draw is going to fall within that, within this drawing, this particular one. Okay, so we're going to test out that theory. So let's grab the ellipse tool. First of all, let's select, deselect. Click on your ellipse tool and hit the D key on your keyboard. That is default, which means it's going to fill it white with a black outline stroke, and that's fine for right now. What we're going to do is go ahead and drag from this corner into the side just about right here, and then let go. What you notice is that it has drawn this ellipse, but it only did it inside the drawing that we already had. It did not create it outside on the corners over here or over here. We're going to undo that, so let's just go to Object, Edit, Undo Ellipse, and now it's gone. All right, so in the addition of drawing shapes inside other shapes, you can bring, like, so the previous island picture that we had that we traced, we're going to bring it inside the shape of this map. So let's go ahead and go to Object, Show All, and now we have the map. We can see part of it there. And what we need to do next is to go ahead to cut part of it out and then put part of it back in place. We're going to go with the selection tool selected. We're going to go to Edit, and we're going to go to Cut, and then we're going to go Edit, Paste in Place. And it will take our island and put it inside the shape of the map that we have. All right, once we're done with this, we no longer need to do the draw inside, so let's go back to the normal, draw normal mode so that anything we draw will go as it should go normally inside here. Notice that the dotted lines are gone and that they're no longer there. All right, I'm going to click off to the side just to deselect everything, and let's go ahead and save this. File, Save. All right, now we want to adjust this a little bit and bring this island down and to the right. So grab your selection tool, and as you go to drag it, notice that it also drags the edge of the map shape. Well, I want to keep the map shape there, but I want to shift the island down. So Control Z to undo it, and we're going to come over to the Properties panel. And with this selected, we're going to be able to isolate this group. So when you make a clipping mask, which is what we essentially did, we took the map shape and we took the island picture and we made a clipping mask, which means we made the island inside the shape of the map. They now act as one, they're grouped together. So what we want to do is to go ahead and just temporarily enter isolation mode so that we can adjust it and then go back. So we're going to go over under properties, and if your properties isn't open, remember you can go to Windows and then properties to get it open. We're going to go to isolate group. And so now we're going to be able to move this and shift it around a little bit. We want to shift the island down and to the right just a little bit, similar to that. Perfect. Okay, to exit isolation mode, you hit escape. Remember, think of yourself like you're stuck, isolated all by yourself in like a box and you want to get out. You have to escape. So hit the escape key. And you're now out. So now you're able to shift and do the clipping mask the way you wanted it to look. Let's go ahead and do File, Save again, just to make sure that that's saved. All right, the next thing we're going to do is work with the Drawl Behind mode. And so if you remember, that's down here. And we no longer are able to do the Drawl Inside mode at the current moment for what's selected. Let's do the Drawl Normal. We want Drawl Behind. And notice as you hover, it gives you the shortcut Shift-D to switch between the modes. So if you try that on your keyboard, you'll be able to see that it switches between all the different modes. What we're going to do with the Drawl Behind mode is to go ahead and give ourselves a background so we don't have these white edges and we have a tan edge instead. So we're going to right click on this or click and hold with left click. We're going to choose the rectangle tool. And what we're going to do is right up at the very top, we're going to click and drag all the way down. And because we're in Drawl Behind mode, it's not placing it in front. Let's go ahead and change the color of it. Let's make it to a nice tan color. Over here, let's change your C to 25, your M for magenta, 25, your Y to 40, and your K to 0. All right, that gives us a nice tan map color. Let's click OK. And notice that it fills it in. And let's lock this so that it doesn't affect anything else that we're going to move. So you're just going to go up to Object and Lock Selection. And now if you tried to move it, you can't. You can move other things, but you can't move that because it's been locked in place. Okay, we are almost done. We're just going to add our finishing touch and bring it over to our map. So let's start with, I'm going to hit the space key and come on over. And let's start bringing some of these objects over. We're going to need to resize them because not all of them are going to fit. And remember, you have the end result to show you what the end should look like over here. So let's go back to this. Let's go ahead and copy our diamond. So it should be grouped together. If you didn't group it, I'm going to go ahead and ungroup mine for a second. If you didn't group it, then you want to go ahead and draw a marquee around your diamonds, and you can group it right here, or you can go to Object and Group, or Control G. And let's copy it. Let's go to, you can go to Edit, Copy, Edit, Paste, or you could have done Control C, Control V. And let's move our diamonds over here in place. So if I'm checking, we should have 2 diamonds, one on either side of the X marks the spot, and the top one's a little bit smaller. So you need to grab our X marks the spot, which is all the way over here for me. I don't know why I moved it at the very top. Okay. And mine is grouped together. I'm going to resize it. Anytime you resize, hold down the Shift key as you drag so that you don't distort the drawing. And I'm going to bring my X marks the spot. That looks pretty big. And notice as I bring mine over, it's stuck behind everything else. I can right click on it and I can go to Arrange and I can say Bring to Front. And it now puts it in my layers all the way at the top. All right, so I think that's still a little too big. I'm going to shift it down, holding the Shift key. I'm going to change it so it's should be the green on top of it above it. So let's make that just a little bit smaller. Okay, and now let's bring our diamonds over. And and they are way too big. So I'm going to bring one, I'm going to hold down the shift key, and I'm going to go ahead and drag it a lot smaller up here. I'm going to check it. It needs to be much, much smaller than that. And again, I can't see it, which is not a problem. I can right click, arrange, bring to front. Okay, now let's do our other diamond. I'm going to bring it up here. And that one needs to be bigger than the first one, but still much smaller than what it currently is. And I'm going to right click, arrange, bring to front. Okay, so we have our diamonds on, we have our X marks the spot. Let's go ahead and bring our sailboat over. I'm going to grab it. It's still too big. I'm going to hold down the shift key, and again, if anything that you have drawn is not grouped together, go ahead and take a moment to group it by going to Control G or Object Group, or in the Properties panel you can group it there too. I'm going to check the final. The sailboat should be over to the side. I'm going to bring it over here. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. Again, I'm going to right click, arrange, bring to front. Okay. And let's keep going. My bones, I need to shift down a lot smaller. I'm going to check my final image. I should have two. This one's a little smaller than this one, so I'm going to go back here and just grab that one. And then I'm going to right click, arrange, bring to front. And I want to copy this one, so I'm going to hold down the Alt key and click and drag. Makes an exact duplicate, and I want that one to be a little bit smaller, so I'm going to hold down the shift key and make it a little bit smaller than this one. Okay, so far so good. And now we need to do our mountains, which we did not actually finish making our mountains, so let's take the time to do that now. We've got 3 colors over here, and we've got 3 mountain shapes. So I'm going to bring this one, I'm going to select it, holding the shift key. I'm going to make this one a little bit bigger, and I'm going to make 3 copies. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key, and I'll make 2, 3. And I want to change, whoops, let me try that again. There we go. No. This one's giving me trouble. Let me try it again. Sometimes that happens. Let me select it first, hold down the Alt key. There we go. I made a copy. I think I was rushing it as I was trying to draw it. All right, I want to do 3 different colors. So I want to have a dark brown, a tan, light tan, and a medium brown. So going back to here, let's go ahead and choose a color. So let's do, I'm going to come down in this area, somewhere in the orange. I could also try swatches if I didn't want to hand pick them. I could click in this area, and let's do a dark brown. Okay, let's click on this one. I can double click it. Let's go to swatches. I liked that. Let's choose medium brown. And then let me just, and like an almost grayish color. I click that one, double click it. Whoops. Sorry. And I'm going to go to swatches again. I'm going to get up closer in this gray tone, and I'm going to choose maybe that one. Looks pretty good to me. Click OK. All right, so now that we have these 3, let's lump them together. The one in the back is the biggest one, is the medium color, so let's go back to here. Shift, make it a little bit bigger. And remember, they've got to fit on this board, so I'm going to draw it here first and then drag them down. The next one is the light brown, and that should be smaller. And then lastly, we have the tan, which is in front of everybody, and it should be kind of in the middle. And I'll place it like this. I need to bring that one to the front, so I'm going to right click and say arrange, bring to front. Okay, and now I have all 3 mountains. I need to make my back one a little bit bigger. I need to bring this one down a little bit. Okay. All right, I'm going to group them together, so I'm just going to draw a marquee over all three of them. I'm going to right-click and say Group, and I'm going to make a second copy by selecting them, holding down the Alt key, and dragging to the right. Try that again. Okay, so now I'm going to bring them on the map. First set of mountains, one on this side and one over on this side. Let's take this one right here. And I need to shift all of it down a little bit smaller. And then I'm going to bring these, I'll go ahead and shift them down a little bit smaller and bring them on this side. And there we have it. All right, so let's go ahead and file, save, and when you're done, you can turn this lesson into the ME2, not into ME2, it's turn it into Google Classrooms under today's post, which is the lesson 4 tutorial, and save it under your name and just turn it in and you're all done. Let me know what questions you have.